everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Pink Pill. I am your host, Jamie Lynn, and I am back with a brand new episode. And this one, we're going to be talking about narcissism. So you guys know that I specialize in narcissistic abuse recovery, and I have a lot of experience working with victims of narcissistic abuse. And a lot of you guys want to know what narcissism is. I felt like I really kind of needed to do this video because narcissism is a word that's really overused. I'm hearing, every girl that, had her heart broken is deferring to her ex as a narcissist. And, every guy that's girlfriend is taking selfies and posting pics on Instagram is a narcissist. So I feel like I kind of needed to have this conversation to create some balance around what narcissism really is and what it looks like. And I'm actually going to be focusing on female narcissists. And I'm going to be identifying some red flags. So stay tuned to the very end of the video where I'm going to cover some red flags to look for. So the very first thing that I want to get into is, what is narcissist? What is a narcissist and what is narcissism? Because believe it or not, there is a big difference between the two. Now, narcissistic personality disorder is a DSM diagnosis. So that, for those of you that don't know, that is like my Bible. So that is like the Diagnostical and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, edition 5. Wow, that was a mouthful. Say that 5 times fast. So what we do is we look for certain character traits, and they have to be pervasive and over, across multiple settings. And they have to cause impairment, or that person recognizes that it's an impairment in order to be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. So you're going to be looking for things like grandiosity, superiority, an inflated sense of self, attention-seeking behavior, the exploitation for others, and the need for constant attention and validation. So those are just some of the kind of big, lack of empathy and remorse. That's a huge one. So those are just some of the big markers of narcissism, of narcissistic personality disorder. Now, a narcissist is not a DSM diagnosis. And so you can't clinically diagnose somebody as a narcissist. You have to clinically diagnose somebody with a personality disorder. But a narcissist is something, I think, I think it's much deeper than NPD. Because they don't recognize that there's a problem. With the big difference between NPD and a narcissist is that narcissistic personality disorder, they recognize that it causes an impairment either socially or occupationally. A narcissist has all those narcissistic traits, but you're the problem, they're just fine. So that's the big distinction between the two. So, before I kind of go over what some of the red flags are, I need to talk about the difference between a trait and a personality disorder. Now, everybody has narcissistic traits, and they all pop up from time to time. And so when I go over these I hate talking about red flags because I feel like everybody can find a narcissistic trait in somebody, and what's happening is that we're diagnosing people as narcissists when we see these narcissistic traits. And we don't look at them within the context of the narcissistic pattern or the narcissistic cycle of abuse. And the traits have to match the pattern in order for it to be narcissistic. So I'm going to be going over all of that to you, with you. So let's kind of get into it. Let's see here. Let me talk about the narcissistic cycle of abuse. The narcissistic cycle of abuse starts off with the idealization phase. So that is where you are meeting either your Prince Charming or, your perfect girl. That is where you are greeted with a lot of like warmth or sexuality. If you have a female narcissist, or you're getting a lot of like charm and, knight in shining armor going to rescue you if, you have a guy narcissist. And they have put you up on a pedestal. They're idolizing you. There is nothing that you can do wrong. You can't do any wrong in their eyes. And, your wish is their command. They're there to meet your every need. Now, the dangerous thing about this phase is this is what hooks people into the cycle of abuse, the narcissistic cycle of abuse. And this phase is the most dangerous because it's not real. See, a lot of people stay because they're like, well, when I met her, I know she has the potential to be like this because, she was so nice in the beginning and she was so kind and, we were having sex all the time. And I tell people, I'm like, what you saw wasn't actually real. That was just the hook to get you in. What happens later on in the cycle is actually like the true state. So you have the idealization phase, okay? So after you have that phase, you're going to be moving on to the devaluation stage. And that's where they like that those are the slow cuts. This can be subtle or it can be really like in your face. So these are the ways that they make you feel like absolutely nothing. This is the part where they really damage your self-esteem. You were so great, and now you're like the scum of the earth. Like, this is where you'll get a lot of like silent treatments from the narcissist. This is where you'll go to reach out for affection and they deny you. You'll see like, if we're talking like social media era, you're going to see blocking and unblocking in this phase. Let's say you're on a date, you try to hold their hand, they're going to walk in front of you. So it can be subtle or it can be really like in your face. And then, it progresses over time. So you have idealization, devaluation, and then the next phase is called the discard. And this can happen really abruptly and very suddenly, but it's never sudden for the narcissist. The narcissist knows it's coming. So this is like you wake up you open your phone one day and you get a breakup text. Or you open your phone one day and you see that they're in a relationship with somebody else. That means that you've been discarded by the narcissist. And so it's the illusion that the relationship has ended. And I'll get to why I said the word illusion in a minute. So your contact with the narcissist stops at this point. They have thrown you away. You're nothing. And this leaves the victim feeling very perplexed, very confused. And they're like, who was I dating? And then what happens is they come back around. And that's called the Hoover. The reason they come back around is because from a narcissistic perspective, they always feel like they have ownership of you. They always feel like they have access to you. So they come back. They come back especially if they see that you're moving on because they want that power and they want that control over you. The narcissistic cycle of abuse is never about love. It's always about power and control. They see you as an object. You're only there to support their needs, to make them look good. I tell people, I kind of give people this example. You're a coffee cup to a narcissist. It doesn't matter if you've been in a relationship with them for 30 years. You're a coffee cup. They only need you when they're going to pour their coffee into you. They don't think about their coffee all day long. They only think about the coffee when they want to take a drink. And it really is, unfortunately, that black and white for a narcissist. It's very objectifying. It's an extremely cruel way to form relationships with people and have relationships with people. So, if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, I highly don't recommend it. Highly don't recommend it. Does that make sense? I don't know. We'll just go with it. Okay, so I've kind of set the tone and we've gone over like the cycle of abuse. Now, going back to the idealization phase, everybody can be nice. Even abusers can be nice. Even Ted Bundy knew how to open doors for women, okay? So what you want to pay attention to is the pattern of behavior. If you see these traits fall alongside this pattern of behavior, most likely you're dealing with narcissistic abuse. You can't look at these things in isolation. So let's get to the first red flag. And I tried to pick some kind of uncommon red flags, things that I hadn't really heard or things that I had just kind of observed myself. And again, we're just going to be talking about women. Things that are more common with women. And the very first one is validation and attention. Now, this one I feel like I could have a field day about because, yes, look, I don't think that there's inherently anything wrong with validation or attention. I actually think, and this is why these traits get so messed up, is because nowadays people will see a girl posting a pic on Instagram or getting likes and they're like, well, she's a narcissist. And it's like, no, that's not the case. Well, she likes attention. Well, who doesn't like attention? Everybody likes attention. That doesn't make her a narcissist. Is it a narcissistic trait? Sure. But that doesn't mean that it meets the diagnostic criteria for NPD or a narcissist. Let's use another example. Let's take children. Okay. Do we call children narcissists when they're like, Mom, look at me. Hey, look at me. Look at what I'm doing over here. No, that's a need and a desire for attention, but it's also part of how you build healthy self-esteem. So again, that's why these traits are getting so misdiagnosed, because people are seeing that and they're labeling it narcissist, and they don't look at it within the context of the pattern of the relationship or their relationships with other people. They look at it, they take an isolated incident and they're like, yep, narcissist, you know? So that's just one example of how these things can get really misled. But let's look at the flip side of that. What I want you to really pay attention to is not the liking of the attention, but the dependency on the attention. Now, the dependency is what's key, and that is going to be the difference between what's healthy attention versus unhealthy attention. So, you know, when you look at attention with a female narcissist, all the compliments in the world, all the accolades in the world, all the bags in the world, all the dates in the world don't fill up her cup. It's never enough. She's always looking for more, and everything that you're doing fails to meet her needs within this cycle of abuse. So you find yourself trying harder. You're having arguments with her and you're saying, but I did this, but you said that you said that I never take you out on dates, and I took you out on a date. And she's like, you took me to a restaurant that you know I don't like, and you didn't give me enough time to get ready, and da-da-da-da-da. And that's what you're going to see with the I need more. And these things can be kind of hard to spot and a little like tricky to point out. You know, women that seek attention, they need validation from others. So yes, you will see Instagram being a huge way that they will get narcissistic supply. I'll have to do a separate video on that. But yes, Instagram will be a huge source for how they get narcissistic supply. You know, let's say you're in a fight. Well, they're going to post a pic. Okay. Like they're doing that because like they need a pick me up. The reason the validation and attention is so highly connected to a narcissism is because they have no self-esteem. Narcissists are known for not having an identity and known for not having a sense of self. And so they try to pull that from others. They are the biggest pick-me on the planet. They're the biggest pick-me girls on the planet. They're saying, please choose me because I'm like, that lets me know that I'm worthy. And you know what? That lasts for a little bit, but it only lasts as long as their next negative thought, and then they need it again. So just some things to pay attention to. You know, they always have a backup too. With narcissistic women. So like if they're not getting it from you, they're going to get it from somebody else. So let's say you're in a fight. Okay, they're going to be talking to somebody else. Now you're either going to know about it or you're not going to know about it. And if you have a really nasty narcissist, they make sure you know about it. So they might like leave their phone out intentionally, and you'll see like a text pop up. They're like, who is this? Oh, nobody. Okay, that's to incite jealousy. That's to get you going. And they get attention and validation from causing frustration and worry and fear and, you know, inciting jealousy. That's all part of validation and attention and praise. Not healthy, but from through the narcissistic lens, that is filling up their cup, so to speak. And yeah. Okay, I think that covers that one. Okay. Let's see. Moving on to, ooh, this was a good one. Okay. I made this shit up, but I think it's really good. It's the damsel in distress. This is the red flag that I see so much with narcissistic women, is the damsel in distress. So they are, you know, they constantly need you to come to their rescue. And they do it especially when you're busy or you have plans. So they do this constantly throughout your relationship, where they'll set the tone actually for having really bad relationships typically. Like, oh, they'll talk about their abusive partner, and they'll talk about how their partner was just so terrible to them. They do that because they're trying to they're trying to control a narrative that they're blame-free, and they're trying to create a smear campaign against their former partner. And that ties in later, but they do that to get you to start to feel empathy and compassion, and it makes it harder to challenge their bad behavior later on when they've created this kind of feel bad for me, feel sorry for me tone. Now, I certainly don't want to minimize any woman that has ever been in an abusive relationship or gone through something like that, because I do think that you need to take those things very seriously. That's why we don't look at these things in isolation. You need to look at these things within the context of the pattern of narcissistic abuse cycle. okay? Because women do these things, and so we do have to talk about it. So definitely like coming to a rescue. Let's say like here's kind of an example. Let's say you've got plans with your boys and you're gonna go out for a boys' night, and then all of a sudden, she calls you because the cat's sick. And you need to come home because the cat's sick. And you know what? If you don't come home, you're a horrible boyfriend. You're a horrible husband. You're a horrible father. You don't care about her. It goes to these extremes, right? And then she's not able to emotionally regulate. You need to look for that. Like, you also need to pay attention to, were there other options for her to choose? Or did she just automatically like beeline it to you? Like, was there a more practical, easier way for her to get support or assistance, or did she go out of her way to inconvenience you to get that support? These are ways that you can start to tell and measure the severity of was there an easier step she could have taken, or did she really like have to bring me home from my boys' night to come take care of the cat? So that's kind of how those things will look at. Yeah, let me look at my notes here. Yeah. So constantly having to come to her rescue. So, that could mean that she's sick. That could mean, she's telling you about, she was at the gas station and somebody looked at her, and she doesn't feel safe. And so she needs you to come over. They're not able to emotionally regulate, and they use you to make them feel better. So again, constantly, you are their emotional support. You are constantly reducing their anxiety. You're reducing their stress. They don't know how to cope. And also they are always the victim in this role. There's no personal accountability, no personal responsibility. They are the victim and everybody else is the bad guy. Okay. Now, there are times where people are victimized, but if it's always the case, then there's an imbalance usually in that narrative. And so you always want to pay attention to always and nevers. Like, if it's always this way, chances are there's an imbalance in the way that person is perceiving it or reporting it. The next red flag, okay, so we just went over validation, damsel in distress. This is kind of an interesting one. I'm going to do my best to explain it, but they try to control your time. So I see women do this a lot with kids, actually. Let's say there's like a breakup, right? And you've got to like share custody with your baby daddy. Well, that narcissist still feels ownership over you, and they will make the court and the custody battle a living nightmare, a living hell. They will, pick a doctor's appointment that's clear across town from your house because they want to control your time. If you want to make a decision about, childcare, they're going to completely oppose you. Even if it's good, even if it's a doctor you've seen your whole life, it's just to cause you irritant, frustration, and to steal your time. So they will do things like that. Let's see. Yeah, and again, stealing your time kind of goes with the second one. Like, if your attention is removed from them, they immediately have to get it back, or they're going to go to a secondary source. So that could be like a friend, it could be Instagram. I feel like Instagram is like the main source where people are going nowadays to get validation. But you'll see like an immediate switch. So like, if you're unavailable, you're going to see them pull somewhere else to get that time, to get that attention. The next one that we're going to go over, and this is a big one. If you're dealing with a female narcissist, they're emasculating. They emasculate the men that they're with. So really what that is there's an intention to belittle and weaken your masculinity, and it is intentional. Like, so anything to destroy your self-esteem and lower your self-esteem. And this creates a deeper trauma bond and a deeper attachment to the female narcissist. And so they do this so that you go to them for your self-esteem. They create a dependence on them, so you need them in order to feel like a good boyfriend. You need them in order to feel like a good husband. So some examples of kind of emasculation are again, some things that I shared earlier, but I think unfounded cheating Like if you've been like a great boyfriend and you haven't had any, red flags, so to speak, and you've been faithful and you've been, transparent, and not saying you need to be perfect, but if you've been good, and yet, she's still accusing you of cheating, and, she calls you up, man, I saw that you looked at so and so's story, or, like these are ways to just completely start to take away your freedoms as a man and to take away your power as a man. Um, they can be very like they will also like flirt with other people in front of you. So this is kind of like an interesting one. So, and they do this very intentionally. So and they will do it if you've pissed them off or if they're bored. It's usually those two things. So they don't even have to be mad at you to do this. They're just, again, trying to get that narcissistic supply, trying to get that reaction out of you. So intentionally flirting with people, other people in front of you. And here's another one. They're constantly talking about their ex. Constantly talking about their ex, and it can be positive or negative, but that ex is constantly on the tip of their tongue. They're doing that to continue to send the message, there was somebody before you, you're replaceable. It's a subliminal message, but like people pick up on that stuff. And then it puts you in a position to constantly prove your worth, prove that you're good, prove that you're, that you'll not, like it creates, you have to be perfect. It sets that like, you have to be perfect. You can't be like this horrible person. And then it invokes that I need to save her need that a lot of men have, and it just kind of, it's just like the perfect storm, if that makes sense. Yeah, blocks and unblocks you repeatedly. Like, let's say you try to kiss her, she gives you her forehead, like not her, not her lips. Like these are parts, these are devaluations within that cycle of abuse. I'm just giving you like specific examples of to how these things actually play out. Another red flag, okay, is female competition. These women narcissists love to compete with females. And they will do it privately or publicly. Like sometimes they are competing with you and you don't even know it. So this appeals to their sense of superiority. Because female narcissists, they have to feel like they're winning. It's not about the dude even. It's about winning. It's about power and control. So they are a female narcissist, again, low self-esteem, not a big sense of self-worth. They derive that from others and how others view them. That's how they develop their self-esteem. And again, falls very easy, not very sustainable. So that's why they need it. More, never fills up their cup. So, they're constantly comparing themselves to others. They look to others to tell them that they're better than their competition. So they tend to devalue other women. So you'll hear a lot of gossip with female narcissists where they're constantly putting other women down. They will say, they'll pick apart her looks. They'll be like, oh, well, she's so old. Oh my God, she's got an OnlyFans. Did you see what she was wearing? And so they start to bump other women down, and you don't even know if they're talking about their friend or their enemy, because they'll do this with the people in their life, and it is hard for them to maintain. It's easy for a female narcissist to maintain superficial relationships, but that deep bond, those intimate, long-standing, emotionally connected relationships, they don't have. It's superficial in nature, like, hey girl, let's go out, let's party. It's not that like real connectedness that you would get within like supportive female friendships. They'll create smear campaigns again against other women, and they try to sabotage other women's successes. So let's just say like you have a woman that got a promotion and, you're all working in the office together. She will do whatever she can to sabotage that success, whether it's, spreading rumors or lies about you, whether that's, you asked her to turn something in for you, she forgets, she accidentally shreds something, she deletes a file that you need. You'll see things like that. Let's say you have like an opportunity to, you'll have an opportunity to, I don't know, maybe, I'm trying not to pull too much from my own personal experience. let's say you'll have like an opportunity to do something. They'll do whatever they can to stop you from being seen. They will do whatever they can to interrupt whatever goals, plans you have for yourself. And they try to make sure that they are projected, that they are the ones that are seen, and that you are invisible. And they get a lot of joy and a lot of pleasure from doing that. And these people will sit back and watch the show. They want to see you upset. They want to see you looking at them. They want to see the frustration or the hurt that they've caused you. And that is something that you're going to be able to feel more than you're going to be able to objectively say, this is what's happening. Okay, so you're going to have to kind of go with your gut on some of those things. Female narcissists and men, when it comes to the female competition, a lot of female narcissists will try to take your man, and they don't even want him a lot of time. It's the game that they like to play. They're always playing a game of, am I better than her? Can I get her man? Because if her man picks me, I'm chosen and I must be worth something. But then that attention always falls, always shifts, always changes to the next thing. So it's all a big game. None of it's real love. And these people, these female narcissists, they are really good at projecting an image of happiness, but inside their relationships are fake as fuck and complete shit. That's the nicest way I know how to say that. So like here's kind of what you'll see. Like it's an overdoing it of things. Like we all know those couples that have fake relationships. We can kind of see it a mile away, where you know that you've either seen them fighting, you've seen them blocking and unblocking each other. Yet in public, you know, around certain people, they want to present that they're super, super happy and lovey-dovey, but they're overdoing it. Like the laughs get louder, the gestures get bigger. That's because they're trying to show, they're putting on a show. And there's a big difference between somebody putting on a show and somebody being actually really loving and affectionate. So this is all part of that, you know, that competition of, I'm okay, I've got it going on, you want my relationship, I'm better than you kind of thing. Everything you see with a narcissist, it's all about image. None of it's real. It's all really fake. And yeah, not sincere. And I think the last and final red flag that I want to talk about is seduction. And this is a big one with female narcissists, okay? So seduction kind of sounds like what it is. It is, you know, they are seducing you, but it is the way that they do it that is specific to narcissism. So females will, yeah, use their body and their sexuality, but it's the targeting of it that's the game changer. So so they pay attention to their target. There's a targeting phase with narcissistic abuse, and they are watching you before they seduce you. So they are targeting you to see, what do you like? What are your interests? Because they have to change who they are to mimic that, to be attractive to you. So let's say I have a CEO. The target is the CEO. And I have a female narcissist and she wants to be appealing to that CEO. She might go and do some research on who his ex was to try to emulate and embody aspects of her. So let's say she dressed really sophisticated. That female narcissist is going to get the same kind of clothes, wear the same kind of hair. Let's say the ex had dark hair and she's got brown hair. She's going to dye her hair dark. She's going to do things like that to be appealing to the CEO. It's a mirror, it's an image, it's a false front. All of that is part of the seduction phase of the cycle of abuse. Let's say her target is a guy that has a lot of cats. We'll just say he has a lot of cats. Well, now she adopts cats. She's fostering cats, you know. So they're doing whatever they can to change, to create some common ground, to say, hey, look at me, I'm a desirable prospect here. So that's all part of the seduction phase. So yes, it is sexual. Yes, it is about body, but it's also about the targeting phase, about them changing who they are to be attractive to their target. Anything that appeals to their target. Another thing that happens in the seduction is they will show up where you're at. They will show up where you're at, and it will be subtle. It won't be so obvious. You'll just start seeing them around, and they'll start frequenting people that you know. You'll start hearing about them. They insert themselves in your world. Like if you go to like a certain coffee shop, they start showing up there. all of a sudden, like, all of a sudden, like, you see them, so and so's talking about them, or they're popping up on your Instagram feed from mutual friends that you know, and that's because they've done recon on you guys. Those things aren't actually accidental. Narcissistic women should be private investigators because they're really good at playing detective, and they are chameleons and they know how to adapt to their environment very well. I think those are kind of, yeah, I think those are all the things. So I guess kind of a quick recap is that everybody has narcissistic traits. Everybody has narcissistic tendencies, but that doesn't make you a narcissist. You need to look at these things within the context of the narcissistic cycle of abuse. And I would encourage everybody not to diagnose people in their life. It's something that you really need like a professional to do, but it is helpful and useful to know what some of these traits are, because whether they're a narcissist or not, you probably don't want to deal with somebody that's doing these things. So I would encourage everybody to look at, is it healthy or not healthy? And you would probably be better off rather than diagnosing as narcissistic or not. So I think that about covers it, Chase.
I think that was very in depth. I feel like I
Was
learned something.
it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Should I expand on anything or do anything? It's hard to do this shit by myself.
I understand. I was trying to think of if I've dated any narcissistic women.
Yeah.
At the one that you said you'd come up with, the damsel in distress.
Yes.
Are there damsel in distress men?
Okay, yes, but it's different. It presents differently.
Okay.
So the damsel in distress men are victim narcissists, is what they're commonly called. So it's woe is me. Like, I can't ever get this promotion. Everybody overlooks me and they need a mommy. They need a mommy. And what they'll do is they're constantly like care seeking. They're constantly care seeking. So I have one that I'm going to do for men.
Okay.
I think I'm going to do this one for women. I like that just reminded me of I have a really wacky one for men that I never hear. But I'm going to do a separate show maybe on that. The 5 for men.
All right, I'm looking forward to that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I guess that about wraps it up for me today. Thanks for sticking with me while I am solo. And Chase, thank you so much for your feedback and production as well. I know you're not feeling good today.
Thanks. It's my pleasure as always.
All right, guys, until next time, pop the pink pill.